Well, hello, my lovelies. I'm Murky Meg, and this really isn't the place to be if you're a fan of Harry and Meghan. Now, I have been doing this channel now for over 4 years, so nothing much surprises me. And today, yet again, it's just the same. It's not surprised me. Yesterday, Netflix dropped the Heart of Invictus, which is produced by Prince Harry himself. And where it should have been about the veterans, that's not what people are now talking about, because yet again, Harry has gone on an absolute rant about anything other than veterans, which is exactly what it should be. He should be talking about veterans, but no. It's all about himself. He's playing the victim. Woe is me. Nobody helped me. Blah, blah, blah. And it's seen as another attack on his family, which is interesting because apparently a couple of months ago they said, oh no, we're done with attacking the royal family. But obviously that was another lie, wasn't it? Playing devil's advocate, people could say, well, perhaps Harry's just putting his foot in his mouth again and he doesn't think. I think he needs to start thinking, because he, of all people, should know that his every word is going to be scrutinised. So he should be very, very careful about what he says, because he knows that not just British media, but worldwide media will go over it like a fine tooth comb. And if he says any non-truths or porky-pies, then he will be called out for it. And that's exactly what has happened. First and foremost, he has claimed he didn't have any support network after returning from serving in Afghanistan. And his trauma dating back to his mother, Princess Diana's death, was never discussed, he said. I wondered whether or not he would crowbar Princess Diana's death into it, because he always does. What relevance has this got? We all know that it was a traumatic experience because he's told us it was a traumatic experience. He said that it was only when he returned from war that he became aware of trauma he still had from Diana dying in Paris in 1997 when he was age 12. Incidentally, 26 years today since we lost Diana. Everybody remembers where they were when they heard the news. It was so shocking. But what gets me every time is the fact that Harry uses her death as a manipulation tool to gain sympathy, play the victim, and just get attention, basically. And it's quite sad, really. Harry said that when he returned from Afghanistan in 2008, the biggest struggle for me was no one around me really could help. I didn't have the support structure, that network, or that expert advice to identify what was actually going on with me. He continues, unfortunately, like most of us, the first time you consider therapy is when you're lying on the floor in the fetal position, probably wishing you had dealt with some of this stuff previously. And that's what I really wanted to change. Lying on the floor in the fetal position, is that like dropping to your knees and sobbing like Meghan Markle always claims that she does? It's really the same story with those two, isn't it? In 2017, Harry went on to Bryony Gordon's Madwell podcast and said this, I quote, "But then, even when a loved one or someone really close to you comes up to you and says, look, I think you need to deal with this. It's all about timing. For me personally, my brother, bless him, he was a huge support to me." And Harry even went on television, and it was part of the Netflix documentary that said that William sent him a letter saying how he thinks Diana would be so proud of him for being in Afghanistan. And in this podcast in 2017, he said, it's about timing. And for me personally, my brother, bless him, he was a huge support to me. He kept saying, this is not right, this is not normal, you need to talk to somebody about this stuff. It's okay. It seems that Harry did get a humongous amount of support. He got the ideas for the Invictus Games from the Warrior Games. He then must have had so much support within the royal family's institution to set this up and guidance of how to do it. You can't just do it on your own. That in itself is help. Help with what you've gone through. He decided he needed to do something, and luckily he had the privilege to be able to do it. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the Invictus Games is an amazing concept and it does so much good. But having Harry attached to this and making it a victim fest is what's wrong with this. It should be about the veterans, not about Prince Harry making it all about him, playing the victim, and just taking little digs at other people. The whole media is now talking about him and not the veterans. And it seems to have been completely overshadowed. What bothers me is that he's also saying that it wasn't just the trauma of Afghanistan, it was the trauma of losing his mum. So yet again, he's bringing Diana into it. And that, I think, is completely wrong. Yes, losing a parent so young or at any age is traumatic, but he's milking this yet again. And let's not forget the massive paycheck that Netflix is giving him. He's not doing this for free. He's doing this for money. And a lot of veterans are in dire straits. They have no home. They have no money. But Harry lives an incredibly privileged life. And to anybody who actually seriously thinks that he was in harm's way during his tour, you've got to be fooling yourself. He was protected at all cost. Yes, he was out there, and yes, he was doing his duty, but do you really think the grandson of the monarch would be in any harm's way? No. He's known as Bunker Harry for a reason. And I did a video on this, and I've popped a link up in the right hand corner if you want to go and view that. Now, a former commander in Afghanistan went on Piers Morgan last night, and he said I would really question what stress he was under during his tenure of service in Afghanistan. And speaking to Piers Morgan, Colonel Richard Kemp said he's not interested in rehabilitating Prince Harry's image, and this is exactly what is going on here. He continues that Harry insisted on going despite opposition, but continued that he was fighting in a very remote area. And he said that it wasn't the kind of thing, in his view, that would result in stress or serious PTSD compared to other people that were fighting in Afghanistan. And he said the only thing that we should really look at as important is the fact that Harry can only really bring PR to the table and public attention towards these very brave heroes. And that he continues to say that having Harry's name could be a positive thing, but only if it results in financial and medical assistance for the veterans, and only if that happens, and for no other reason. One of the most damaging things I think that Harry said within this series, and there's been a massive bite back on social media and in the British media as well, he said that he was angry the media didn't cover British soldiers being wounded in Afghanistan, and said that he saw the true cost of war. This is complete nonsense. I remember very vividly the media coverage on what was happening out there, and quite rightfully the newspapers are hitting back. He's also angered people because he said that the whole reason I was allowed to go to Afghanistan in the first place was because it was kept a secret. While I was there for 10 weeks, no one knew apart from the British press, who said, "We'll keep quiet as long as we get access." Then he continues to suddenly be on the way home. I was angry, but it was important for everyone around me, their safety, to remove me. Now, he aimed that squarely at the British press. They didn't report on it. In fact, his cover was blown by what was called a Drudge report, and it was held as a world exclusive Harry the Hero. It was also reported by New Idea in Australia. So the fact that he has yet again blamed the British media for something they did not do just shows you what an angry little man he really, really is. It wasn't the British media that ruined his tour in Afghanistan. It's a complete lie. It was American Drudge Report and New Idea. In fact, there was an actual agreement between British Army, Buckingham Palace, and the British press where they were going to have a media blackout, which lasted 10 weeks until the Drudge Report broke the news story. Miguel Head, who is best known for his public relations role within the royal household, had an agreement with the Society of Editors. And the British press kept their promise. And it wasn't until the Drudge Report and New Idea published that he was in Afghanistan did the Sun then approach Buckingham Palace telling them that his whereabouts had been leaked. The Sun spotted it, and then they told Buckingham Palace privately because they didn't want to break the agreement. Does this man ever stop lying, or can he never get his facts straight? You would think that because he knows, and I've said this so many times, he knows that his words are going to be scrutinised, that somebody would fact check. And I think this has really ticked off a lot of people. The fact that Harry is using this as a PR strategy to improve his image and by proxy to improve his wife's image. And I'm not buying it. And purely for the fact that war zones do have certain media blackouts. But I specifically remember the war in Afghanistan, the coverage was 24/7. The fact that he said that the British media didn't cover it is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, the Sun newspaper did an annual event called the Sun's Millies, in which Prince Harry attended. It started in 2008 and Harry attended 3 years later. Here he is, up on stage, giving out an award. He attended with the Prince and Princess of Wales, then the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Incidentally, the Sun raised £370 million for veterans from their readers. It's just ridiculous how they can't fact check and he's just allowed to just spurt nonsense and vitriol. I'm going to end this video with something I want everybody to remember. In 2019, Harry was invited to attend a Royal Marines memorial for 11 servicemen killed in an IRA bomb. He didn't go. He went to the Lion King premiere instead. And now remember that Harry had been Captain General of the Royal Marines until he withdrew from royal duties. He was captain of the Royal Marines and he didn't go to a memorial service of which he was invited to, yet he denies this. Not only did he not attend, he was pictured at the premiere of The Lion King hustling for his wife and a voiceover with the head of Disney. Who's ignoring veterans now, hey Harry? But what do you all think? Do you think that, oh, poor Harry, he's been so traumatised? Or do you think it's yet another example of him whinging and whining and taking digs and pop shots at people yet again? Why is he digging at the royal family, saying that they didn't support him, he didn't get support? Now, he may not have meant the royal family, but that's the way it came across. The fact is that his brother did assist him. He helped him. And in fact, he said that he did this in a podcast to Bryony Gordon. And what do you think about his comments with regards to them not covering the soldiers in Afghanistan? Do you think that is completely out of order, or do you think he has a point? As always, I would love to know your thoughts. Before I go, just a couple of super thanks. We have one from our Israeli Live, Razi and Shaya. Thank you very much. And yet again, Mia Maria Ilranko. I really hope I've said your name properly. I'm so sorry if I haven't. Thank you so much. Mwah.